Well, welcome everybody. Very happy to see everybody here. I have seen the people in the group, and I know some of you are coming back from our events that we had previously. So really appreciate you spending your Sunday with us. My name is JD. I'm the CEO here at Imprimo, and today we have a few things that we'll cover in this presentation. The part number one will take you through on a journey on what is Imprimo, who are we, why did we build this, and more importantly, what's the vision for the future. We'll show you what an Imprimo profile looks like, how to use it to its full capacity, and then we'll finish the event with kind of taking you step by step on how to enter the information on Imprimo, what you should enter on each box, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So with that, I'll dive into the presentation. So a little bit about who we are. So Imprimo was created by Pressing Innovation in collaboration with Carfac, which Carfac helped us organize this event today. They're one of our great partners alongside RAV and Copyright Visual Art, and collectively, we got together back in 2018 and said we see that there's some challenges happening in the digital world that is affecting artists, and want to explore ways to use technology to help empower artists instead of seeing them finding it difficult out there. So we started doing some research. Access Copyright's background. Access Copyright is a right management organizations that manage the rights for authors, publishers, and artists in the publishing space. We are a copyright expert. Access Copyright also has an innovation lab, Pressing Innovation, which this is what was created in order to explore different technologies to help creators benefit of the exponential technologies out there. So when we started with this project, we started doing a series of research, hundreds of hours of interviews with artists, with galleries, with art lovers, and kind of came to a conclusion that one of the problems that was out there, it was really difficult for artists to present themselves online, document their journey in a way that helps them establish provenance and to be able to record some of their copyright, some of their creative claims, and share that publicly. So we looked at all this and we said, some of the interactions that we see that is not really happening in the art world, that's happening in the business space, for example, is what we saw on LinkedIn. We saw on LinkedIn where the employees and the employers and the recruiters had a very similar relationship as you would see between the artists, the art lovers, the galleries, and the marketplace. So we saw an opportunity to create a platform that allows artists, art lovers, galleries, and marketplaces to come together, interact in one platform, and really help the entire art industry come together and collaborate stronger, share data, and so on. So with that, we decided that we're going to build Imprimo. Imprimo is set to be the LinkedIn for visual artists. There is 3 big phases of development that was created today. We have what we call phase number 1. Phase number 1, we launched this year back in March with our beta project all the way till August. In August, we started our platform live completely. We're a subscription model. And the idea here was very simple. I'll touch about this in a second, but it was really to allow the artists to build a profile that was really professional, it was easy, and it was much simpler to do than managing their website or their series of their other social channels. And then as we were going through this process, we heard from artists that they were looking for additional tools to be able to manage their career more effectively. And that's where we realized that there's an opportunity to come up with more features, and you'll see our premium model coming out on February 15th. But we'll touch about this a little bit in a little bit. So again, phase 1 is a little bit like LinkedIn, having the artists document their career, their journey, a little bit of the same way that employees would do on LinkedIn. So that was our phase 1. Phase 2 is very much about connecting the marketplace and connecting the galleries on our platform to interact with the artists as well as the art organizations. And then finally, in the phase 3 is where the art lovers join the platform and start interacting with the artists, with the galleries. And then we have a completed ecosystem. And we'll take you through some of the interactions that we're looking to launch as we launch these different phases, and we'll get some of your feedback on what you think on the things that we're looking to develop. Because at the end of the day, I think some of the major success from Imprimo has been from the great feedback from our community. Many of you guys have given us feedback over the last few months, and I've been very thankful for it, because it's because of that feedback that we're able to improve our product to provide more values for you. So very excited about those 3 phases. You see them here Most of this is going to happen between now and the end of 2024, and there's some change for that to happen a little faster. Yes, if you have any suggestion or things you would like to share with us, you can always send us a message, info@imprimo.ca, and we're always happy to hear your feedback. But touching base on what we have today, phase one was we wanted to improve an artist's online discoverability. And simply said, when you go on, if I go on someone's website and I land on their website and I get to see their profile, and many people have amazing websites, but when it came time to finding another artist, you have to completely exit this, find the name of the artist, and we find it very difficult to be able to find artists unless you knew their specific web link. So the benefit of having a centralized network where all artists comes together and collaborate or share their art makes it much easier for people to cross-discover from one another. But in order to improve the discoverability, we needed to really make sure that people had an amazing profile that documented their journey in a way that was very engaging, and it really helped the art lovers, the public, or the galleries to gain a deeper understanding of who they are as an artist and their career. So there's three important parts that we discovered. Again, was enhance the discoverability, allowing them to share their reliable story about their artwork. And we know there's a series of features that works on that. I'll show you that in a second. And finally, having tools that allow artists to manage their portfolio. So I understand that was quite important, and that's what we have today on Imprimo. Now, what I want to show you guys is a little bit about what's coming on Imprimo and when it comes to the art lovers interaction and so on. So some of the interactions that we have coming is you'll have the ability to follow an artist and follow an artwork. So what would that look like? Let's assume, JD is an art lover. I come on the platform, I see my favorite artist, I can follow them. When my artist creates some update to their art record, I get notification and then I can come and visit the profile. To really try to increase the engagement with the profile. Many people today, they're building their profile, they're still in the stage one of building their presence, but we're trying to create some interactions that once your profile is done and completed, as you create some updates, you're able to let your following know. So you'll have the ability to follow the artist and you'll have the ability to follow the artwork, meaning that not only if my favorite artwork is traveling from gallery to gallery, I'll be able to know. And if it comes in my local town or somewhere that I plan to be, I'll have the ability to go and see it live. And that's the idea, is to create more opportunities that way. The other thing that we're going to do is having the ability to like the artwork, like the artist. The benefit of this here is by liking the image, this is how the algorithm is going to work to curate your view, meaning that I'm going to end up seeing a lot more of the artwork that I like, because as I like different images, I'm going to get a curated view. This will do two things. First of all, it will drive analytics for the artist, being able to see how many people like your images, which images they like, and maybe there's something to even learn about the way that was presented. If you have two artwork that you think are fairly similar and one drives a lot more engagement than the other, maybe it's the way it's presented, maybe it's also just the artwork itself. But the like button will appear. As an artist, you will be able to know how many likes you have. But for us as an art lover, we will not be able to see that. I'm only going to be able to see whether I like it or I did not like it. And one of the reasons there is we're not trying to create a popularity contest, but we're trying to create an engagement feed that really helps curate the view for everybody based on their preference. And then finally, you see the little star here. The idea here is to have endorsement. These will come in two different flavors. You'll have the ability to endorse an artist. So as an artist, you'll be able to endorse another artist, and this will drive a count up. So meaning that if you have 100 endorsements, obviously a lot of your peers think highly of you. This is one of the interactions that we're looking to have. And then you'll also be able to write endorsement and write kind of a comment. It's kind of similar to some of the features that you would see on LinkedIn. So that's a little bit about the features that we have coming. I'd like to know your feedback on this. So I have a quick poll that I'd like to run right now, and simply let us know what you think about the follow interaction, what do you think about the like interaction, and what do you think about the endorsement. So I launched that as I continue my presentation. All right, so when we built Imprimo, one of the things that was really important to us is we look at the different platform. What were artists using? Why artists were not using? Artists are not using LinkedIn. The format is just not working. It's jobs and titles, not work, exhibition, publication. So we saw that, this really beautiful platform that works for almost the entire business world does not work for arts. But however, the community that is there and the information that it's on LinkedIn is very reliable in many cases. Where if you look at something like Instagram, which is used by many artists, so much better to promote your work, as far as this creative aspect. In that case, the integrity of the data that you see is a lot more compromised. And what do I mean by that? Is we have countless examples of artists who have fake profile. You have someone copying their profile, and then they're not able to take the profile down. It takes so many people to report it, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we saw that there was some major advantage to the aspect that something like Instagram or Pinterest, but having the ability to have more reliable data on a platform like you see on LinkedIn, and that's where Imprimo comes in. Imprimo, as you know, if you're on Imprimo, you need to verify your ID as an artist. That's step one. By verifying your ID, we know that you are who you pretend to be, and therefore we know that there's no bad actor on our platform. There's no bots. There's nothing like that, right? So that we took care of that up front so that we did not have to have the same impact as we see on many of the other platforms. So that's one of the reasons that is there. And then the idea is on Imprimo is, as we're going to the evolution of Imprimo, is to let marketplaces come and integrate with Imprimo, making it easy to share the data. And I'll explain to you guys what does that mean. As an artist, I'm on Imprimo. I have an Imprimo profile. I want to start selling my work on a third-party marketplace. I can come in and I say, connect with Imprimo, and my information is transferred over, right? Today, when you go, every single time you go to a new platform, you have to re-enter your information on a continuous basis. Of course, you have as an artist, have to authorize that transfer, but the idea here is to limit the amount of time you have to enter the same information as you decide to use different platforms. And what the idea is here is when you look at, how fragmented the art world is today, many artists will use all these different platforms or some of them, right? And then it's re-entering the data every single time. And what ends up happening is you enter the minimal amount of information because it's so time consuming. And in reality, what drives the value of an artwork is not the minimum amount of data, but it's the maximum amount of data. It's story, it's provenance, your story as an artist, and all the different, exhibition or prize and so on. That's really what drives the value up. In many cases, it is sacrificed because it is really time consuming. So our idea at Imprimo is to give you one platform where you centralize your information, and from there we work with different parties to help you use your Imprimo information on other platforms. So for some of you that might be visual and I'm wondering, how does that work? Well, it works a little bit like this. So you come as an artist, you come to Imprimo, we verify your ID, give a fingerprint to your artwork. We put all the metadata, and this acts a little bit as your authentication process. And then from this, we share with galleries, online marketplace, peer-to-peer sales, or NFTs, and this provides your data, which has been verified, your ID has been verified. Now, these third parties would benefit from what Imprimo has to offer. And finally, the end consumer knows that when they're buying an artwork from JD, that JD is the rightful owner of this work. He's the creator, and then I know that this has been properly attributed. In essence, that's what we're building here at Imprimo. And here, the big advantage is the idea is to democratize the art. And some people that will echo and some won't. Simply for us, what we want is to try to avoid the scams that are happening about, many artists seeing their prints being sold on Imprimo, being sold on Etsy and platforms like that. We're trying to provide a platform. If you want to buy from authentic artists, you can inquire with the artist, you can learn the journey that the artist and the artwork has, and then be able to contact. There's trust in the information that you have, and it provides a new opportunity for artists. And then, we get a question very often about, what is the traction on Imprimo, the traffic, and just like any other social network, one of the important things is, the more that the community engages together, the more effect. And what do I mean by that is, if I had 1,000 artists who have 1,000 followers and sends their 1,000 followers over to Imprimo, now as a whole, the community has 1,000,000 followers. There's 1,000,000 people on the platform that are now interacting with each other. If I might go to see John's artwork, and then finally I realize, wow, I really like Jane. But if I would have went on John's website, I would have never come across Jane. And that effect we've already seen. We've seen many people saying, I discovered that artist as I was looking for another artist. But this becomes from really, everybody working collectively to, encourage the share of interaction on the platform, right? So this, you'll see today we have the artists, but as we bring the galleries and the art lovers, a lot of that will be a lot more seamless. But today as a community, if we all come together and we try to drive our network over to Imprimo, everybody benefits from that. And with that, I will dive into the other part of the presentation, showing you what Imprimo is, what it looks like, what your profile, a completed profile looks like, and so on. But should you have any specific questions, you can either enter in the chat or at any time email us at info@imprimo.ca. All right, going into part 2. So this is Imprimo. This is our home page. When we built Imprimo, what we wanted to do is to create a very first impression for art lovers that come in that is very attractive, allow them to consume art in an engaging way and be able to discover all kinds of different work. They can use different filters here, to whether by categories and medium. But more importantly, we wanted to make it easy. I see these images, who is the rightful creator? So when I hover over the image, you actually see the avatar of the artist, the name of the artist, and the name of the work, which was something that was very important to us to be able to immediately signal who is the creator, but do it in a way that doesn't compromise the aesthetic. Now, if we look at an artist profile, so in some of the advice that I'll give you guys today, we built Imprimo to embed what we learn in our research. But I think, I'll go and I'll explain a little bit about why it matters. So when you go on Imprimo, the idea was to encourage the artists to share with their audience what we've learned that the audience really wanted. And I'll give you an example of that. When we talk to collectors, they say, I really like to see things like the artists at work, the artists in their studio. It really helps me resonate with the pieces that I buy, helps me understand the process, and really a lot more engaging. Another thing that we've heard, for example, on Imprimo, you have an avatar here. First feedback we got from some of the artists that used Imprimo is that when people were inside the galleries, they would see the avatar and they'd be like, this is you. And, in their website, many artists do not have a headshot. So someone might see your name, but they don't know who you are. They could be sitting right next to you at the gallery. They might be interested in your work, and you're not going to gain that opportunity because they simply don't know who you are. So the idea of having a headshot is really important. I'll share you guys another anecdote. There's one of the artists that we work with that on her Instagram, she did not share a headshot. She just shared her work. And someone gave her the exact same advice as I just gave, and then she did, and she made that change. So the second I made that change, I started getting a lot more engagement. Because people want to engage with the artist, right? They want to know who you are. They want to see what you look like, and so on. So this is your opportunity to do so. When you put your avatar, you see in the case of Randa, she has a clear background. There's nothing in the background that's distracting, and her face is very well lit. That's what we would recommend for your headshot, trying to make it very easy to see your face. Some people, the picture is very dark, you can't see their face, or what they have in the background is very distracting from the image there. So that would be my advice here. And then what you see on Imprimo is that red bubble. We talked about that, the verified ID. For those of you who might not have logged into Imprimo already, when you get on Imprimo, you get to verify your ID. It's very simple. You simply take a selfie, you take a picture of your driver's license, we match the images and the name on the account with the ID, and then you've been verified. The second it's verified, the information is deleted. Imprimo does not keep your personal information. And then you've been verified. So once you're verified, we know you are who you pretend to be, and therefore you're able to publish your work. When we land on the homepage, I touched on the cover image. This, I would say, could be used as your billboard. I personally, if I had an exhibition coming, this is where I would announce it. I have an exhibition at that place on that day. Come check it out. This is the very first thing people see. It is your billboard. It is your way to communicate a very snappy message about what you have coming, or an exciting, a publication, anything that you want to drive your audience over to your profile to look at. This is your first chance to do so. Many people will do like Randa and just choose to have a short bio as an introduction. That's not a bad thing. Those are two different views that you could have. And then here you have your bio. I would say when you write your bio, try to put some things that are personal in there. Randa's from Syria. She's been, in multiple countries. She's new to Canada. She has an amazing story. Her art as a unique view on political and things like that. It's really amazing. If you don't read that, you see the piece, you might not be able to fully capture what it is that she's creating and who she is as an artist. So, this is where you get to do this. When we looked at, how to have an engaging online presence, what was told from everybody is, as an artist, you're like an entrepreneur, right? You're managing your presence, whether it's physical, your connection that you have, your online presence, your website, your different platform, and you end up with so many different platforms that don't really talk to each other, unfortunately. And then, it's really time consuming. But what's hard is for your audience, they don't necessarily know that you have those other platforms. So what was recommended was to have a centralized place where it was very easy to see. In this case, Randa has YouTube, she has her Instagram or Facebook or Twitter and her personal website. So in one view, I'm able to click on all the different channels and see what she's working on. When we look at most artists' website, even though that information was there, it was buried on their footer on their website. It was very, very difficult to come across these important things. And in reality is, there's probably a lot more chance that I watch a video on YouTube about who Randa is than there's chance that I read 3-page of biography, which we also saw on many artists' websites. So just to keep that in mind, whether it's on Imprimo or on your personal website, try to centralize your link in a way that is very easy for people to see it. They want to see that. They want to engage with you on different platforms. So try to centralize it there. Now, when looking at the CV, when we look at most artists' CV, it looks like this: black and white, PDF, HTML, sitting on their website. And for galleries and granting bodies, that certainly does the job, right? But for art lovers like me, unless I know what Gallery 501 is, doesn't really tell me much, right? I can see that Patty has a lot of exhibition, but I have absolutely no idea what these exhibitions are like. So what we wanted to do was to create an opportunity for artists to share and document their different work. So this has kind of two purposes. Purpose number one is to create engagement with what's happening in the life cycle as an artist. In this case, these are all the artwork that was exhibited. This is Patty Lamb. This is his first show with his daughter, Claire. He tells us a little bit more about it here. Their first exhibition together, there's documents, there's images. It really brings this event to life. Right. And then when I look at my Gallery 501 here, you see the different pieces. Well, before I opened that pocket, I would have never understood the magnitude of these events. Like these pieces are enormous. Like this one takes a very large wall. There's so many different pieces. I would have never been able to know that from that line of black ink. Right. There's videos, there's different images. You can see the event took the entire gallery. Right. It was very amazing. And then we're able to see videos, documentation. There's some text up there. So it really gives you a lot of different options to share the story of the event. So when you build the profile, when you start your profile, you may not have these images, but as you move forward and start having more exhibition, I think it's important to capture these images and record it there. So as far as driving engagement, I think it's self-explanatory. One of the other advantages here was to allow you to document these events, and then by also elevating trust in these events here. What do I mean by that is it would be very difficult to say that Patty Lamb did not exhibit at this gallery, given the evidence that were being presented with. So there's a few purposes to the way this is being documented. And then looking at an artwork record here, remove this. So the first thing that you notice is you're able to see a series of different images or angles, right? If you have sculptures, installation, that becomes very handy. Or even if you have some paintings, sometimes some part of the painting you can give a zoom view and of some aspect, and it really drives a lot of interest. The second thing, when you go to click or right click on one of the images on Imprimo, you actually cannot save the image. So that's one of the things that we've done to protect the artist. Another thing that we've done is when you upload the image as an artist, you can upload it in whichever resolution that you want. It is reduced in resolution for the viewers. So your images are entered in high resolution, but for end users, it's in lower resolution. And the reason why is that should I go to do a screenshot, even though I can't save it, I would end up with something that is probably too low in resolution to do something of magnitude with. Now, and then lastly, there's this little thumbprint that appears here for the blockchain registration. I'll touch on this in a second, but it acts a little bit as a watermark, which doesn't, this is some of these advice that I would say, at protecting your image, uploading online on low resolution, apply watermarks. These are a series of things that you can do to protect your image. And then when it comes to, so now we talked about protecting it, let's talk about, promoting them. So when it comes time to promote your work, you can use the share button and use all these different options here, the different social channel, using a way to use your Imprimo profile as, kind of like your centralized network that then you can, share on different platforms. Why should you do this? Today, if I go and I posted on, if I post it on LinkedIn or on Facebook or whatever, I probably upload an image of my artwork. I have a caption that sounds something like, here's my new piece. Here's a little bit of the detail, the metadata, please visit my website to see more. Click is below, right? And that would be a very normal post that many people would post on social media to try to drive traffic over to their webpage or to any other platform in order to see the image, which is great, but that's a lot of call to action that very little people will actually take. So what we've done is we embedded in the image, when you share it on social media, a redirecting link, which means that if I accidentally click on the image, I am sent to your artwork record, right? So, clicking on an image is very accidental. It's something that happens very easily, and it really redirects people where they should be in the first place on your social platform to learn the full detailed story of the artwork. So by using the share button when sharing on social media, you make it very easy for yourself to create more opportunity by driving the users back to your platform. And when they get here, they can learn all the metadata about the work and see what the work is available for, and then inquire. When they inquire, you see it says representative. If you self-represent, that's where you put your email in. If you're represented exclusively by a gallery, you can put their account, you can put their email there, so all inquiries go to them. I'll show you guys in a second. Or if an art dealer, so on. Now, looking at the creation story, when we talk to art collectors, what we've heard is one of the favorite part of collecting art is to share the story of the work and of the art with your friends and family and other collectors and so on. And typically the story is not really recorded anywhere. The artist will say it to the buyer at time of purchase and not written down or anything, and that's where it stays. Which means if you didn't write it, maybe you didn't forget, you didn't remember the whole part. And the one thing for sure is when a piece exchange hand a second time, that story doesn't follow very often, if the name of the artist follows at all. Now, what we've done is we allow the artist to share that inspirational story of, why did you create that piece? What did it mean to you? What material did you use? What was the creation process that you had? You can have different videos and images and text that describe the emotional relationship that you have with your piece. And you can print it there permanently, meaning that not only it is there for before the sale, but is there for after the sale, which means, if once you sold your piece in most marketplace, the image is gone forever. In this case, Imprimo is not a marketplace, therefore the image stays there forever. So if you sold the piece to me and I sell it to my cousin, he can come back to Imprimo and learn the exact same story that I've learned when you said it to me. So that's one of the advantages that we want to create here. Very important part, if you want to add some bench strength to your artwork records, I would say this is the best place. This is what drives the most interest. If you only have a little bit of time to contribute to Imprimo, do your basic entry on metadata and focus on the creation story. It is definitely that one of the things that drive the most interest. Finally, we wanted to, we look at some of the challenges in the art world. the tracking provenance is what we've heard, whether from museum, galleries, or anybody. It was very challenging. So we wanted to create a system that allows provenance event to be publicly displayed to make it much easier to discover them, to learn about them, and use it as a way to help promote the career of the artist. So here you see the life cycle of the artwork. When I click on the pluses, a little the same concept as the CV. You see these different images that appears. You could have some text and so on. That really helps me understand what are those events. If you add some different images, you'll see this red bubble appear. It says evidence provided. And if you don't, you'll have that white bubble like this one here. Now, if I open this pocket, you'll see again, here's my gallery 501, right? Same images. So what happens as an artist, you work into your artwork record, you edit a timeline event, and then automatically your CV is updated. As long as you keep your artwork record up to date, you will no longer need to update your CV. There's about 5 or 6 categories, mentorship, education, membership that falls offside of this that you'll still have to edit in your CV. But the vast majority of your CV update is now fully eliminated. So the idea was we wanted to not only create more engaging CV, we wanted to remove the administration that comes with it. Now you still have to create the artwork record. So there's still work up front, but we're trying to eliminate the double work that happened so many times in an artist's career management. And then finally, when we obviously Access Copyright being a rights management organization, copyright is important to us. Even though Imprimo does not record copyright claims, and doesn't register copyright claims, what we do is we register creator claims. And the difference of them is really more on the exclusive legality of it. Imprimo is a global platform. We're on multiple countries right now, and each countries will have different stand on the copyright. So what we do is we want to create something where we can timestamp the claim that the artist has made, and I'll go into more details with that. So what do we register? We register the name of the artist, the name of the work, all the metadata, who is the copyright holder, the year of the creation, and then who it is created by. This information is all linked together and it's registered on the blockchain. What is the blockchain? Blockchain is like a spreadsheet that is shared publicly and is visible to everybody, right? It is transparent. You can look at it at any time and see every entry. Every entry on the blockchain is permanent. If you write an entry, you made a mistake and you update it, you'll end up with a second entry. You cannot erase the first entry. Why is this valuable? It's valuable when you come to things like saying, I'm the person who created this at that date. This is being timestamped, and the fact it can't be erased, nobody can come and say, well, you could have changed that after the fact. No, you couldn't, because it's permanent, right? And that's really the value in this case of the blockchain. Blockchain has many different uses. We use it to timestamp creator claims, and we do so in a very unique way. We register this on the blockchain. On one side, you have this person who is said to be Patty Lane, but because blockchain is anonymous, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then on Imprimo, we have Patty Lane whose ID is verified, that we know he's Patty Lane because we verified his ID. And through a cryptographic signature, we link the registration on the blockchain to the verified ID, making it much more robust that this claim is rightfully Patty Lane who's made it. That whole process I just described, 100% automated. If you didn't understand anything and didn't remember what I just said, you don't need to. We do all this for you. As an artist, you simply fill the box, and when you click publish, this whole process is automated, right? So we wanted you guys to benefit from this advanced technology while understanding that not everybody is at this stage of technology to be able to understand how it works. So you don't necessarily have to understand. It's all done for you automatically. You have all the benefit and don't need to worry about the complexity of that technology. Now, talking about complexity of technology and reducing admin. So what we're also heard from artists is when I come time to sell my work or ship my work, from one gallery to another, I don't always have the most professional documentation or even less consistent. So what we've done is when you click on the certificate button here, the certificate of creation appear, which highlight all the metadata about the work, right? The idea was you can pass this with the work. It makes it very professional. It's easy. It's instant. You just click download, print, and then here you are. You have a certificate, right? The other idea here is you see in the corner, there is the QR code. So going back to my story of the, if I sell the work to my cousin can't learn the story. If he has a certificate, he can scan the QR code and learn the full detailed story of the artwork, right? I'll give you guys two use case where if you sell it to me, I can scan it as the document, as the artwork changed from hand to hand. Because of the QR code, everybody is able to access the artwork record on Imprimo, and therefore it leaves the artist in control of the narrative forever forward, right? The other use case is if you want to send your artwork from one gallery to another, you can attach a certificate of creation to the artwork. They scan the QR code, and all the information that they might need is going to be on Imprimo. Therefore, you don't have to send all this information that is required many times. You might still have to send some things, but the vast majority of the information is there, which should reduce significantly the admin at your end. And then we heard from the artist, well, I really like this QR code. I wish I could have it alone. So we did it. So we created these QR codes that are automatically generated. You just press the button here anytime you want, and you can print them. The best use case for this is you affix it next to your work at during an exhibition at a gallery, and then your audience can come, they scan it, and then they can see the full detail here. Some of the first feedback that we heard is one of the artists that we had showing an exhibition at the Palais Congrès here in Montreal, and there's 9,000 people coming. She's like, I'm not going to be able to talk to 9,000 people. That's impossible, right? So she used that as a way to help tell the story to more people. Not only did that work, but what she realized is that the people that came and talked to her, they had already learned a lot about the artwork, and they have very different questions, right? They were a lot more interested, and it drove significantly more opportunity for her. So the QR code can be used during physical exhibition to transport your audience over to your artwork record. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So here I have a little video of someone who used that last weekend during an exhibition. So you can see she comes, she goes a little too far, she scans it, and then lands on Imprimo and can see the full artwork record, right? And this is exactly how you can use that during an exhibition to share your work. Very easy and very engaging for our audience. It gives it a lot more detail than the typical 5x7 that you'll see in a lot of galleries. So with that concludes what an artist profile should look like. Now let's go to the next section, which is how do you make that happen? How do you fill that profile? So when you land on Imprimo, your profile is going to look something like this, right? You have built your profile, create your CV, upload an artwork, your main three actions. Okay, so we'll start with edit your profile. You can also click right here, and it'll bring you to the exact same place. Okay, we'll do that one more time. Edit your profile, or you can simply click here. When I come here, you can put your name as an artist, the location, which I highly suggest, the avatar, the cover image. What we suggest for you to put in the cover image is an image of you at work. If you don't remember, this image is kind of square or a little bit rectangular, so keep that in mind as you create it. If you're trying to do an horizontal image, I know that there's a few people who had a vertical image, I should say. There's a few people that had some challenge with the image not appearing the way they wanted, so just wanted to mention that. You can add your signature. The only place that this is going to appear is on the certificate of creation, and only you can see the certificate of creation. So that's not visible to the public. It is an admin tool for you that you can print. You don't have to add it, but if you want to add it, it is here. And then finally, once you've added your artwork, you can come and select which three artwork do you want to appear here. And then, while we're on this, going back to some of the important part, and I know a lot of these people are still building their profile, but two things that you want to try to avoid is if you don't have an avatar, this is going to happen. And it really, it really makes it challenging for people to believe that your profile is completed, right? So having an avatar should be one of the first thing you do, not one of the last thing you do, because it really signals that the profile is not completed, right? Second thing you want to do is do 3 artwork record, because as long as you don't have 3, it's going to look like this. And when you see here, it seems pretty obvious that this profile is not completed. And therefore, if people come across your profile and they see something like this, or something like this, they may not click on it. Now, I know these two people just joined this week, and therefore, they're still working on their profile. But I would say, if you're working on it, try to prioritize adding the avatar, which is right here. Avatar, cover image, two of the first things that you want to do. Next is you can select the different keywords. I highly suggest that you use the keywords that are already there, right? So take a look. If they're already there, go ahead and use this. If you say that, for example, you have two different type of work in there, say glass and fiber, don't type glass and fiber, select glass and select fiber like this, right? This is going to help your discovery. A lot of people will come and do this. And now the only way someone's going to find you using the tag is if they type fiber and glass, which is very unlikely. There's a lot more chance that they select fiber and glass. So you try to use what is here as much as possible. And if some case it's not there, you have to add it, right? So then you come and then you type in here, and then as you type is going to create a keyword for you. Okay. So try to use it as much as possible. If you can't, you can always write it, but it is preferred that you use the one that are already there when possible. Quick introduction, that's that billboard I was talking about. So if you go in here and you want to signal any event, any publication, a new artwork that you have, this is the best place to do so. If not, just some short introduction. It is the first snippet that they see next to you. So you should share the most meaningful thing about you that you want to communicate, whether that's something that's coming up or something about you as an artist. This is your chance to do so. You have 150 words to do it. And then you have your longer biography. We went about that during the profile. Try to share something about who you are as an artist. What does your work represent to you? A little bit about your story personally. These things are really important when it comes for the art lovers. When it comes to art, it's not a quick purchase. It's an emotional purchase. People get to know you. The more they get to know you, the more they're interested in your work and the more that they can dive into this. So take the time to share as much information as you can. This is where you enter all your links that we show you on the profile earlier. So you simply come and you add your different links here. I'll give you guys, there has been a recent update with YouTube where some of the channel has an @ sign. So if ever you have some challenges, just send us a message at info@imprimo.ca and we'll help you with that. But other than that, you can simply follow the format here and it's going to work. Finally, the contact detail. This is where if you're represented exclusively by a gallery, you probably want to include their information here. If you're not exclusively represented by a gallery, then you should put your personal email here. Okay. If you want to see what your profile look like, there's a button right here in the corner. You can click and then see. Obviously, I don't have anything because I'm not an artist, but this is where you can see. And most importantly, here is the draft button. There's two options. You can select the publish button, or you can select this button here, publish and unpublish. Many, 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 many artists have profiles that are still in draft that to me looks like they're completed. So I would say, as long as you have, and we'll go over what you should have before publishing it. But I would say start publishing your profile earlier. Some people are building amazing profile and then they've been in draft for like almost 5 months. And it's like, a lot of people could benefit from seeing your profile. I understand some people want to have something really detailed, but in reality, it's about creating momentum and creating some engagement more than having a big, wowing factor, unless you are really trying to send something for a specific exhibition to a specific gallery. But if you're just looking to create engagement with your social following, your art lovers and so on, I would say, really try to publish at the first chance you get. So that's a little bit about the profile. So now let's take a look at the artwork. So when you come, you add an artwork, you're going to follow these different steps, and it's going to ask you some basic metadata. Basically here, let's just do it quickly. Add a couple things. You add some images. I'll add this one here. Follow the next prompt. It's asking me about the description, the medium, the surface, the dimensions. These are all the mandatory field. If I don't enter anything, it's not going to allow me to go. I'll just enter anything right now. Then we select the keywords. And finally, the copyright holder and the copyright here. And then here, this is what the work is available for. So this is where you signal to your art lovers what is your work available for? If it is available for sale, available for exhibition, maybe the artwork is already sold, but it's available for different things, so you're open to inquiries, right? This is where you would signal to the art lovers and so on the different use that is available for your work. Once the artwork is created, it looks like this, right? You're going to go and you're going to be able to add different images. For example, if you had 10 different images like we saw on Patty's record, this is where you could add it. You have the ability to add images or videos in this section, but not both. So some people, I know we tried to add the videos and they couldn't, and that's the reason why. If you could have maybe your artwork is a video and it can appear here, but you cannot add both in this section. The description, again, this is the same concept: description, medium, surfaces, different dimension, and if it's part of a series, this is where you enter it. As you go from page to page, save your artwork at every changes, right? So every time you complete one page, you come and you save, you go to the next page, you come and you save. We see many artists who don't save from one page to another and end up losing their work and they're not really sure why. And vast majority of the time, it is that they have not saved after completing the work. So make sure you do that. Again, we're back to the keywords, same concept. And this is the creation story. This is the section that you should spend some time on. I will show you guys a few creation stories that I think are very excellent to show you where you can go with that. So in this case, Benedict, he has this piece here, and he shows us how he went about creating it, the different process, right? That really brings a lot, like you can really understand what has happened. Oh, I don't know where I click here. And then he has a video of himself telling us about his artwork, right? That is 10 out of 10. As far as sharing the story, I'll show you guys another one. We have Grant McConnell here, who he has this piece, I believe. Yeah, and then you can see his inspiration for the work. He tells us in the video here a little bit more about the work and so on, and then we can see him create it. Just to give you guys some inspiration of what this could look like, right? So we saw the work itself. Now we're seeing the artist at work. We've seen a series of videos, of images, and in some cases, some of the inspiration. So this is the type of things that you want to enter in the creation. So the images, the videos, we use Vimeo, and YouTube. So you upload it to YouTube, you upload it to Vimeo, and then you simply add the link here. The dates that the artwork was added, the location that it was created, and then additional description. Again, don't forget to save between each tab. The timeline events. So remember when I said that when you look at the CV to the timeline, it is very similar. And then they talk to each other. So when you create a timeline event, you actually also create a CV event in many cases, right? So let's just take a quick look. This is the timeline event. And this is the CV event. You can see very similar categories. Okay, I'm going to come back to the artwork. So we'll go to enter a solo exhibition. So you can add the title. You can search for the galleries. Many of them are already there for you. Ideally, you just go and select one of those one there, but you can also enter free text if you really want to. Location, dates, description, similar format. Now, one of the important part is if you did an exhibition and you had 10 different pieces, what we see a lot of people is they come and they recreate a timeline event 10 times. But what we've done is when you come to the artwork here, I can link my 10 different events. And then when I click save, all 10 artwork will have the exact same timeline event created, right? So you save yourself a lot of work by simply coming here, creating the event one time, and then linking all the artwork together. So that way you only do the data entry one time, and then you get as many timeline event as you have artwork. And then you can add images like we saw about the different events and the galleries and so on. Like I show you in Gallery 501, you can do the videos like we also show you in Gallery 501, there was a video. and then other document like we saw on some of the other what is that? It could be a snippet of a publication, it could be documentation about an exhibition or so on. And then once again, don't forget to click save. Finally, rights and use is, we touched on it a while ago. This is also where you can update, who is the copyright holder. And, in the case that this is managed by somebody else, you're able to say who is the representative in some case. But in our most of our artists are, either self-represented or at least manage their profile themselves. And therefore, the creator is the right box. And this is where you can do this. And once you're done, you click save. And finally, don't forget to publish your artwork. When you come to your artwork, you'll see in the bottom corner when it's published, this will come green. Of course, I'm not publishing these because I'm not an artist, but you can see it says draft. So if I just click here, I can go and toggle publish. Obviously now it says that, I have some missing metadata. So I got to enter this metadata before I can publish. But to publish, you simply come and click here. Finally, if you go to the CV, you come here, click add to event to CV. You have very similar boxes that I showed you a while ago: membership, education, teaching and mentoring. A few of those things will fall outside the artwork, so you'll have to come here to add them. But the vast majority of them, like permanent collection, publication, professional services, presentation, in some cases, depending on the case, that might fall outside as well. The group exhibition and so on would be best to be recorded on the artwork level, but you can do it one way or the other. If you create it on the CV, it will auto-populate the artwork record. If you create on an artwork record, it will auto-populate the CV. So, one way or another, you get both. And finally, if you go into the account section here, this is where you'll see all your billing information and so on. And then that's where you select your preferred language. And with that, that's conclude the presentation that we have.